Hey everyone, me Kevin here. Boy oh boy, you'll want life insurance after this one. Make sure to go to metkevin.com/life to sign up for this. Wow, a report was just released that reveals the CIA and the Trump administration had considered assassinating Julian Assange while he was at an embassy in London. Julian Assange is, of course, the Australian journalist that founded WikiLeaks in 2006, and he gained notability in 2010 after WikiLeaks published a series of leaks provided by the intelligence analyst Chelsea Manning. Just to give you an example of some of the highly classified documents that were released, and then we'll get into the plot. This is crazy. In April 2010, WikiLeaks released a military video showing a U.S. Apache helicopter firing on and killing 2 journalists and a number of Iraqi citizens in 2007. The leak was in 2010, the video was from 2007, and some of the voiceover audio was not exactly too compelling in favor of the US military. The pilots claimed that they thought the journalists and civilians were insurgents, but the audio tape definitely makes you a little bit concerned. This is something that you can still look up on YouTube. We're not going to play here. In July 2010, only a couple of weeks after Chelsea Manning was arrested, more than 90,000 documents relating to the war in Afghanistan were released. One of those documents included information regarding the hunt for Osama bin Laden and the linkage between Osama bin Laden and civilian deaths resulting from U.S. military action. So being able to essentially link how the hunt for Osama had been killing civilians. WikiLeaks then also released over 250,000 communication cables between diplomats. The terrorist files of the prisoners in Guantanamo Bay were also released. The U.S. manuals for soldiers dealing with prisoners at Camp Delta in Guantanamo Bay were released, including torture rules or procedures. Like waterboarding. These are just some of the many leaks that were released. Of course, WikiLeaks claim that these leaks help educate the public, and this is along the lines of Julian Assange's mission anyway. He believes that sunlight is the best disinfectant, which is essentially a way to say that the more things are exposed, the better society can actually operate in them with more fairness and justice. But regardless of the intent, these leaks are really, really embarrassing. And so in 2010, shortly after the classified documents were issued, Sweden issued an international arrest warrant for Assange. The warrant was issued for sexual misconduct, but many believed it was just sort of a ruse to get Assange to a country that would end up participating in an extradition of him to the United States. Like, the US wanted this guy, right? Okay, so now the crazy part. In 2017, after Trump became a president, which it's worth noting that Obama had not issued an indictment for the extradition of Julian Assange for basically citing particular evidence that would link him directly to these cables, although it seems pretty obvious at this moment. Bottom line is, Obama did not make this a policy priority. But in 2017, Donald Trump and the CIA discussed the possibility of assassinating Julian Assange. This is while Assange was still in the embassy in London. This would have been a huge, huge, huge violation of international law, specifically the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations from 1961. The Vienna Convention laid out the rules of diplomatic encounters in the world, and let's just put it this way, assassinating someone in somebody else's embassy is not exactly the way to follow this convention, although something like that did happen in Turkey, but that is a topic for a totally different video. Basically, the Vienna Convention lays out encounters that says, hey, in short, don't kill people in other people's embassies. So anyway, the Embassy of Ecuador in the United Kingdom is basically a country. It's the country of Ecuador in the United Kingdom, and British police can't enter this. We know this, right? So now if the United States tried entering, they would really be creating or breaking the law of Ecuadorian sovereignty, and so this is really bad. But anyway, the United States wanted to assassinate Julian Assange, presumably for the leaking of the documents that really embarrassed the United States, and this was potentially a way for Donald Trump, and this is just an assumption here, to show that he was now in charge and punishing those who had embarrassed the United States. Now that is just an assumption, but it is also no secret that the U.S. government doesn't like Julian Assange. I mean, Pompeo, for example, the former Secretary of State during the Trump administration, declared WikiLeaks a, quote, non-state hostile intelligence service, and this declaration gave the CIA the ability to target target WikiLeaks in the same way it would target foreign intelligence governments. Senior officials inside the CIA and the Trump admin went as far as to request, quote, sketches or options for potentially taking out Julian Assange. The assassination never did take place. Instead, in 2019, Sweden dropped its sexual misconduct case against Assange. Shortly thereafter, his asylum was revoked by Ecuadorian authorities. He was still arrested for violating bail and sentenced to 50 weeks in prison. And now he's in a maximum security prison in London, and he's been there since April 2019. But the story, in my opinion, is really fascinating. And if you found it interesting at all that Donald Trump and the CIA potentially plotted the assassination of Julian Assange, consider sharing this video. Hit the like button, hit subscribe, and of course get life insurance by going to mechheaven.com/life.